Welcome to Procurement Says No, episode 20. Woo! 20.
Yeah.
20 wholesome episodes of the world's number 14 best global procurement podcast, Ed.
We're on the way to the top.
Now available on Twitter, formerly known as X, or the other way around, and Facebook, or FaceFriend, as we like to call it. As well as, of course, Linked Up, where you can check us out.
Super.
There you go. Now, this episode, we have another one of our super duper 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 special guests, Ed.
Yes, an evil salesman.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking all about sales and salesy things and buying stuff, when you should trust a salesman and when you should possibly just... And we have a guy called Meir Ziskin here with us, who's going to be splurging everything we need to know about sales, whether you're a salesperson, whether you're a procurement person, and how to love and learn to get along.
Never.
But first, in the news. So we got a bit of news this time, Eduardo. First of all, the big news globally is, of course, the US election. And it turns out the election wasn't about what can be unburdened by what has been. But in fact, it's all about make procurement great again.
Yes.
So what does a Trump administration mean for procurement?
We can't say anything political.
No, we are neither left-wing namby-pamby or right-wing fascists. It just depends on how much we've had to drink.
You can't even say that.
I've said it.
So what does the US election mean?
For procurement types. What do you reckon, Eduardo?
Well, what it means is if there's an increase in protectionism and tariffs, and if a tariff goes on all Chinese goods coming into the US at 60% and a general tariff of 10%, what it will mean is that all procurement people have less purchasing power.
Yeah, spiralling inflation out of control. Unless, of course, we all start to buy American. That's what we need to do. Buy American, make America great again.
But as we've talked about before, when you've outsourced stuff, particularly technical stuff, to overseas cheaper production markets, it's very difficult to bring it back into the country. But I saw some research a while back that suggested that about 90% of all the brakes for cars, automotive, are made in China. It would take 5 years to bring it back.
By which time Trump will be out again. And he's not allowed to run again after this one.
So the tariff will have been on at 60% on brake assemblies. So the cost of brake assembly is going to go up massively.
Oh, you see, you're just negative Nancy.
What you've missed, though, it's not just China.
China is the correct phrase.
Is Mexico. I think the idea is that tariffs on imported
people,
cars, not people, it's going to be 100%.
Oh, and the US have put a lot of car making facilities into Mexico, haven't they, to benefit from the low-cost economy? So that's, let's see what's going to happen. If you're living in the US and you voted one way or the other, let us know in the comments below and on Twitter or X or Facebook or whatever. That'll be good.
Yeah, do that. So what it means, who knows? The US stock market went up initially, I think. I don't know what it's done since. We will see. Time will tell.
We will see. All exciting things. And we are unburdened by what has been.
And what will be.
Any more news, Eduardo?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about CIPS, haven't we, recently? I think our suggestion has been that CIPS has been a little bit rudderless. So they've just appointed a new leader called Ben Farrell, MBE, to become their CEO. So let's just talk about CIPS for a minute. CIPS looks to be around about £35 million in terms of revenue or membership fees, and looks like it has possibly about 500 to 600 employees.
Really? As many as that? Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So looking at the CIPS website, it's quite difficult to see anything about them in terms of their operation.
They are cloaked in secrecy.
They are hiding.
In plain sight.
Yeah, so if you go online and have a look around, you can see anything from suggestions of up to 200,000 members.
Ooh.
That's massive.
That's a big organisation.
I think when you joined, I assume you joined when you first started in procurement. I did.
Well, I joined when I was in PwC, actually.
I joined when I was 22 and I first went to work at ICL. They're quite a sort of hokey UK-centric organisation. I mean, they're operating in somewhere between 150 and 180 countries globally. Bear in mind, there's only about 220 countries in the world. And the revenue's at like £35 million. So for our US listeners, $40 million, 40 and a bit.
40, 45?
It would suggest that they've got at least 100,000 members, if not 200,000. I think probably more like 200,000 members globally.
All of the members. So it's a big, successful organisation, you see, and you've been putting them down week after week. Bloody SIPS this, bloody SIPS that. But actually, it turns out they're a hugely successful organisation. And now that Ben Farrell's come on board, ex-military man and ex-military, or I think he's still working in military charities, and ex-John Lewis Waitrose operations director, sounds like a decent sort of chap.
He looks a lovely bloke. They've even published a picture. Looks a solid all-round type.
He looks like a rugged type, doesn't he?
He does.
We should get him on to talk about the SIPSy thing.
I think we should.
Ben, if you're listening, get in touch.
Yeah, I think so. He says in his bio about joining, "I've loved meeting and connecting with so many people. Come and meet us then."
Come and meet us and tell us all about the lovely things that are going to happen in the SIPS organisation.
So just the flip to that, and this is quite timely, linked up this week, Skywalker.
Skywalker, I saw that.
Yeah, what a great name. So anyway, got into a bit of a debate with Sky. So she's MSIPS, head of indirect supply chain, EMEA for CBRE, the property.
You're not related to her anyway, are you? I am your father.
She's made a comment this week on LinkedIn.
How can you be called Skywalker and be taken seriously? Sorry.
She'll be embarrassed. She's listening to I've dropped her a note about our podcast. I've told her where she's going to be mentioned. She can't be rude.
Sky, if you're listening to this now, please come and be a guest star as well. And bring the Millennium Falcon if you can get your mate Han Solo to let you have a drive of it.
Her post on LinkedIn was CIPS renewal time. Got me thinking, is anyone using £234 worth of resources from CIPS? Or are we keep paying to keep using a bunch of letters after our name? Great post. Just had a quick look this morning. 107 comments so far on her post. Lots of feedback. Broadly speaking, the comments were negative.
Yeah, but you could say that there's 200,000 people there in the SIPS membership who haven't commented. So, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But when you think about it, standard membership for an affiliate is £234.
Yeah.
If you're a fellow, you pay 303 quid, which is probably okay if your employer is paying it and you're expensing it. But that is a lot of money for not a lot of content. I think we should try and get Ben onto the podcast. Yeah. And we should challenge him on this.
I think we should get Ben and Sky onto the podcast. And I think we should also get another guy called Mike Darth Maul on as well.
Can we get Chewbacca as well?
Although he would just go, probably wouldn't be a very good explanation of what SIPS is doing. Right, well, I've got some exciting other news, Ed. I got a message on Linked Up the other day from Angelika Shizlak. I presume that's how you pronounce her name. She says, "Hey, Richard, I'm Angelika Shizlak, marketing manager for ProcureCon, a series of procurement and sourcing events in North America. This year marks our 25th anniversary, and I'd love to explore a collaboration with Procurement Says No in effort to expand our audience. Would love to chat more."
Oh, is that $10,000, please, to be a sponsor?
Yeah, I imagine so, yes. Please pay $799 just to connect.
I paid it. It's all right. Don't worry.
So, yes. So, there you go. I did reach out, as people say, to her. However, she hasn't reached back yet. I think there's a trailer waiting for us at the next ProcureCon in San Diego with Procurement Says No over the door and 2 stars, one for Ed and one for Rich. Obviously, the Rich star will be slightly bigger than the Ed star.
As long as there's blue M&Ms. Just blue in a big bowl. M&Ms.
And we want at least 25% of the gate.
And all merch.
Exactly.
I want to go to San Diego again. Look at battleships. Just before we go to war with China. Well, the US goes to war with China.
Yeah, but we'll just be waving.
Dragged in.
No, we just wave from the sidelines. It'll be all right.
Oh, as we do.
ProcureCon. We could be there.
Yeah, a road trip for Procurement Says No. I've got one other bit of news.
Oh, come on.
I've discovered a new online community called the Alchemy Network.
Oh, are they wizards?
Well, their splurge says the Alchemy Network stands as a catalyst for personal growth and leadership development within the procurement domain.
Ooh.
I think it looked quite interesting. It looks very, very well put together. Might be worth having a look and joining it. It's got about 2,500 members so far, but it's all about sort of procurement innovation sharing, lots of stuff around procurement and AI, procurement and robotics.
Ooh. And it's called what, did you say?
The Alchemy Network, I think spelt incorrectly, ALCHEMIE,
Right.
rather than with a Y.
So come and join the new cult of procurement, Alchemy.
If you are aware, there is a procurement platform that's similar called Procurious, but it seems to have died a bit of a death. It seems to have gone very quiet.
Right.
It seems to be centred in Australia. Alchemy is centred in the UK. It has some links to academia as well. I'm just giving it a bit of a shout out. It might be worth having a look at.
Check it, everybody. Check it out. Of course, it could all go very, very well, and we could all have a great, great cult of procurement, or it could all go badly wrong. And we'll all be holed up in a shack in Waco, waiting for the police to shoot us. Any other news?
In the podcast charts, perhaps just to finish off, we're big in Egypt, Qatar, and listen to this, we're big in the Maldives.
Big in the Maldives.
And Trinidad and Tobago. What's the common theme? They're all holiday destinations. So they're probably listening to our podcast when they're on holiday. But hey, thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly. Procurement Says No, your perfect holiday listening.
You're so boring that you're listening to procurement podcasts on holiday. Oh.
That's the news. Lots of news this time. Lots of news. Very good. Right. Now, let's move on, because this time, again, on Procurement Says No, we have a special guest star, and he is a salesperson. So, Ed, would you like to do the honours and introduce our special guest?
Today, listeners, we have special guest, and it's taken us 20 episodes to get there, to invite a salesperson, a real live salesperson onto the show. So Meir Ziskin. Mier is a seasoned and savvy business development manager who works in the industrial robotics market. And we've had a few chats about what he deals with from the procurement folk at various organisations that he seeks to sell to. Mier's got 30 years experience, good at talking to you, good at engaging with you, getting good at understanding where you're from. So I think he is particularly good, he says, at successful negotiation, transforming customer relationships and developing a deep understanding of the dynamics of moving a deal forward.
Yes. Well, welcome, Mier.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Good. Nice to have you on. Right. So, welcome to the show, and we've got a whole load of questions for you, which have not come from listeners from all around the world. Ed and I have made these up. But let's kick off with this one. Nice, easy one. And you may know the answer to this. You may not know the answer to this. What makes a good salesperson?
Well, thank you very much. Besides the ability to consume huge amounts of coffee, a good salesperson listens more than they talk. So the ratio should be 70-30, which basically means you need to be quiet for 70% of the time. It's all about understanding the client's unique challenges, not just waxing lyrics about the latest shiny robot. So listen more, be more quiet, yeah.
We say the same thing about procurement people being listening. So if everyone was listening, nobody would say anything. Anyway, Ed, next question number 2.
What do you think of procurement people?
They terrifying. At the beginning, they have this sentence, your price is too high. These are their first remarks that you hear or you think about before you start a meeting. Yeah, I mean, the people, they actually, salespeople themselves, they don't like to be called salespeople, but they are.
Yeah, that's the thing, Mier, is that when I was first in procurement, I sort of had a more a negative view of salespeople in a way, realising in the end that everybody's the same and just trying to make a living and all the rest of it. And I've become good friends with lots of salespeople that I've dealt with. But the dreaded question was from a supplier when they would say, "Oh, have you ever thought about coming and working for us?" And you'd be like, "No, I'm a procurement guy. There's never ever I'm going to go into sales." But of course, all us procurement folk at some point in their career have sold. A lot of the time, they've had to sell things internally to stakeholders, or sell some ideas to suppliers.
Yeah.
You meet a buyer for the first time, you start to build that relationship. But what's your approach to kind of building that trust? Buyers who might have had some reservations about working with you.
In order to build a good trust, I always try to be as transparent as and honest as much as possible. I completely understand that people have negative perceptions about salespeople. Of course, as you mentioned, I then explained that my approach is slightly different. It's all about understanding their needs and finding the best solution, even if it means not working together. So I kind of do an upfront honesty, and then I disarm, all the negative and make it a real genuine conversation. That makes any sense?
So, Mier, I was listening to a podcast about sales the other day. There was a sort of a discussion there about sales, and it was talking about the fact that a really good salesman would tell a customer that their solution wasn't right for them and recommend a competitor who they did think had the right solution. Is that something that you would do ultimately to build trust?
Yes, definitely. I mean, even if it says sometimes that you have to walk out of the deal, but if the product that you sell, that you have, will not solve their problem, it's better not to push it. It's even better to recommend a competitor sometimes. You never know when, things will turn around and they might refer you to people they know. So this is honesty and building trust, of course.
How do you determine whether a buyer is really serious or whether he's just kicking the tires and he's looking for an alternative price so he can leverage down his incumbent?
Here again, I'm using my technique, which is basically I'm trying to qualify as soon as possible in order not to waste anybody's time. In the qualifying upfront questions, I will try to uncover their pain points and the budget, if they have a budget. So if they're hesitant about this information and very vague, that means they're not really serious. On the other hand, if they share their challenges and eager to discuss a solution, that gives me a green light to continue the conversation. While qualifying is very important, what I do is trying to disqualify more than qualify. That's because I'm pessimist.
The salesman, a pessimist?
Sometimes, yeah, but then really I save my time. Just move to the next one. If they just kicking the tires and just looking for information for free, I'm not the guy. That's not me.
I think from a procurement perspective, I'm interested in what you think, Richard, but I don't like to tell suppliers what the budget is because your belief is that the supplier will go to the budget rather than give you the price for the product or the solution. And so I generally wouldn't discuss the budget up front. I'd wait until we'd perhaps down selected to the supplier that we want to use, and then I'd talk about the budget and what we could get for our money.
Yeah, just a little remark about Ed. Completely understand. Nobody wants to unveil their budget or talk about the budget because it's not a company policy. I get it. But in this case, I normally would ask, well, our solutions are starting from 200,000 to 1 million, and other solutions are 2.5 million to 5. Is your budget is aligned with one of those options? If they don't have such budget or they don't have a budget at all, I don't want to waste anybody's time.
I agree. I totally agree. I think you have to have a ballpark view of what the budget is likely to be. It could be 500,000, it could be 5 million. Depends on the spec.
There isn't generally a policy in a company. Generally, it's a procurement person's belief. So other stakeholders in the business, like the operations manager or the logistics, the warehouse manager, if he was buying your product, he or she would probably share that information with you. Procurement people generally feel that it's not right to share that, but I absolutely agree with what you both say, that it's about ranging it, isn't it?
Another thing I just want to shout out, when you reach to a procurement stage, that means you're on the last slope of the deal. That means you pass the engineering, you pass the operation managers, you're on the last slope. Then you should know most of the information.
And is that the point at which you break out the shiny suits, Mier? Because all salesmen have to have a shiny suit in their wardrobe.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So you see, in my case, there are safety features. So when I walk into a warehouse full of autonomous vehicles, it's crucial to be visible. And by the way, reflective clothing is not just for cyclists,
Excellent. Jolly good. And another serious question. We've asked this about procurement people in the past, way back at episode 1 or episode 2. Are salespeople born or are they created in a lab? Can you learn to be a salesperson, in other words, or is it a sort of an innate ability to be able to do sales?
I think it's a bit of both. Some of us born with the gift, must admit, and the rest are nurtured through countless hours of rejections and occasional success. If we all were created in a lab, I'd like to have a word about the hairline they gave me.
We got the same problem here, I tell you.
Yeah.
When a buyer hesitates, Mier, what do you do? What strategies do you use to uncover their concerns?
I must admit that hesitation is basically, out of years of experience, is a natural part of the buying process. So what I use, a technique, I call it reverse questioning. For example, buyer says, I'm not sure if this is the right solution. I might respond with, what would need to happen for you to feel confident that this is the right solution? So this is basically encourage them to articulate concern directly and allows me to address them heads on.
Do you use a particular sales technique, a trained sales technique? I know when I used to work in a previous job, we used blue sheeting. Is there anything like that you use actively, or is it more from within you, or do you follow a methodology for selling?
A bit of both. I do have natural instincts, but I do prepare myself, and I use Sandler technique, and that's a great technique.
Do you do anything along the lines of trying to work out who the main decision maker is? In the blue sheeting world, it's called an economic buyer, for example, the person who actually signs off the order and so forth. Do you do a load of work around the stakeholder geography, if you like, or the stakeholder map and who's who and that sort of thing?
Yes, I do. I use a lot of LinkedIn, so there you can find a lot of information, which is not always correct, but it's all about talking and asking the questions. Because when you go to for a presentation, for instance, I always like to know who will be in this presentation and who are the decision makers and who are the influencers, just to understand who I'm going to meet and who are the important people who I should talk to close the deal.
I think having, sold consultancy work, I think that's the big mistake that a lot of us make, myself included, is not really understanding exactly the level of the person that will ultimately make the decision. So quite often you'll go in and talk to some people, but they're absolutely not the right people. They don't have the authority to make a decision around buying something from you, and therefore you waste a lot of time.
So just ask the questions. Don't have to be shy. Just ask the question because they are legitimate questions. It's the way you ask the question as well. You can ask the question from all sorts of angles. You don't have to be direct sometimes. Depends who you ask.
And what's your sort of favourite, if you're dealing with a procurement person, what's the favourite style? What sort of singles out a good procurement person? They could still be argumentative and they could still be tough, but what is it that you want them to be?
I like really when it's a straightforward conversation. That would be great. And maybe once in a while to hear, yes, that sounds reasonable. Sometimes that would be great, without needing to sacrifice my firstborn or donate my kidney to close the deal. I like mutual communication, mutual respect. You need to be honest. You need to be decent. You plan things in advance and you're not winging it. Things work better. So you need to be prepared. Things will work. And sometimes a decent biscuit during the meeting would be great. Beside that, I'm really pessimistic about the whole thing.
So preparation and not winging it. So that's pretty much the recipe for Procurement Says No, actually.
I'm just giving you all my secrets.
So what about if you're midway through that discussion and it's all going well and the buyer's giving you great buying signals, but then you kind of realize, wait a minute, the deal is possibly at risk. What do you do to try and bring things back on board if you suddenly see that the buyer's kind of going off track a bit?
If it's going off track, that means I've not planned the meeting correctly. My upfront contract probably was not great. I might just tell them, I'm so sorry, just walk away from the deal. Don't waste your time. It's sometimes better.
Mier, do you get pressure from your boss or your boss's boss in your company to move up the tree within the buying organization? So do you get pressure from your leadership to go and talk to the leadership of the company that possibly are going to buy from you and to cut out procurement?
No, not necessary. We understand that procurement is the way, the system works. And procurement, believe it or not, they have a role in a company. They actually have to do their job. Besides saying no all the time, you need to understand their needs and you need to respect them. And you can't just go around them.
Yeah, because you're talking from a product supply and manufacturing type thing where procurement will typically have a very clear role in the process because it's more difficult. I guess, Ed, we've talked about professional services procurement, and service procurement is where sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult. But I think you're talking about a much more structured approach where it's a very clear process for how procurement is involved.
Yeah. Meir, just one thing. If a customer tells you how many people are bidding, does that give you a cut-off in terms of not bidding? So if I think from a procurement perspective, we always think suppliers would only want to be bidding against one or two other companies because they've got a better success rate. Would there be a cut-off where you'd say that they're tendering this to 10 companies, I'm not even going to try?
Yes, definitely. When I know who's bidding and who they are, sometimes I decide, because there's zero chance to win, not to make an effort, because you need to understand, in such offers, they're not automatic. There's engineers working on every quote. It takes a long time. There's a lot of simulations that you need to do. There's a lot of work involved behind it. So sometimes, I decide the team that works, to move it to more higher success projects. The chances to win are higher.
Yeah. Starting the bidding process where you know you're one of 10 or one of 15, you just immediately go, nah, the chances of winning that are so much worse.
It depends who they are as well.
I think that one of the things that I've done with clients that I work with, a lot of stakeholders don't get it, that actually when you're bidding work out or you're looking at the supply market, you need to minimize the number of suppliers that you go out to, not maximize them. And I think this isn't a procurement view. I think a lot of time procurement think we should only bid out to 3 suppliers or 5 suppliers or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of stakeholders in business seem to think more is better. No, because they won't be interested. They won't put the best team on the bid. They won't put the most effort into the bid. They won't be, or they might not even bid at all because they see no point.
No, absolutely. No, I've had that discussion a number of times with both procurement people and stakeholders, actually, where you say, actually, the sales guy wants to know they've got a good chance of winning this. And as soon as they know there's 15 or 20 other bidders, they're just going to not be interested.
No.
And they'll, knowing that they've got a 50% chance of winning would presumably means, Mier, that you would look to sharpen the deal as well, because you think, well, we're this close to winning it.
Yeah, definitely. That's true. I agree.
So in terms of procurement people you speak to, what are the sort of best and worst characteristics of procurement people?
You know what? I will start actually with the best. And out of my experience, I found out that they have an amazing ability to keep a straight face while they're squeezing every last drop of your margin. This is really impressive. But jokes aside, their attention to detail is impressive. They often spot things on contracts that our legal team misses. Yeah, that can be terrifying sometimes.
Shout out to the procurement analysts. What about worst characteristics then?
The same ones.
Well, exactly. It's the same. So it's really admirable, but terrifying as well.
I remember from early in my career, the thing I spoke to one sales guy that I got to know well was, I said, I don't know how you're positive all the time. I said, how do you keep this up? When you really don't feel like socializing. And he just said, I love it. It doesn't matter how I feel. I love socializing with customers. And I was thinking, God, as a buyer, that's a big difference. Because sometimes I'm just like, nah, I just don't want to speak to anybody.
I'll tell you what the magic word there is, matey boy. It's commission. Yeah, the sales guy's getting commission. The buyer's not getting commission. That's the difference. That's what makes you keen.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. It plays a role, I must admit.
He was a born salesman. He liked meeting people, talking to people, engaging with people. So, going out every night for a meal with different customers, he absolutely loved. Whereas from my perspective, once a week would be, or once a month would be fine, but no more than that, thank you.
Well, I agree with that. Salespeople can really become friends with the buyers. This is all good until the moment they ask for a 30% discount.
Yeah, that's why we do it.
I know. So, yeah, really, it's building genuine relationship is a key. When they start to talk to you about discounts, you need to know how to play it right.
Yeah, Mier, what really is your margin? I won't tell anybody, honest.
Yeah, there's two questions, isn't there? What really is your margin? Yeah. Really? No, really though. And the other one is, and this is something that I think all buyers believe is going on, and it happens to an extent because I know it happened quite a lot when I was in Australia with us in the packaging industry. When the bid comes out, are you talking to your competitors and are you saying, what do you think of this one? Well, how much of that goes on there?
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of conversation with the competitors about the margins. Unfortunately, can't tell you that. That's the company policy. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to keep it a secret. You will never know.
You'll never know, folks. You'll never know. The margin is somewhere between 0 and 100%.
You never know. You never know.
People put too much weight into the numbers and understanding, thinking that somehow it would be the panacea for all, the solution for them as a buyer to understand what the supply margin is. And I don't think it's necessarily always as mathematical as that, Rich. I don't think it necessarily would help you, because you know from the market dynamics, from multiple bids, from multiple suppliers, etc., you generally get a view of what the market looks like, what the price looks like, etc. But I think a lot of people put a lot of hope in the mathematical part of negotiation, but I personally don't.
The other thing about margin is, if you want to squeeze margin, is that a good thing to do long term, or is that a very, very bad thing to do long term? I mean, working in the water sector, the chemical industry, the water sector had squeezed the chemicals industry for 15, 20 years, and they were on such low margins. There was no investment in the plant. There was no investment in NPD. There was no investment in alternatives. So it was to the detriment of everybody.
That asks the question, Mier, if you sell a deal and the margin isn't very good, but it's a customer you want, most companies make it back elsewhere in the aftermarket. If you squeeze a supplier too much, I always think, well, the supplier will make the margin one way or another.
Selling anything without a margin, that will be false. This is something I do not do. There's always has to be a margin. The question is how big the margin is. The margin definitely has to cover, expenses, especially in the big projects. And customers understand that as well. But yes, you're right. Sometimes a lower margin can push future deals, and then you can generate margin from different channels. Yeah, definitely. It's complex. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've worked a lot in outsourcing, and the tendency in the outsourcing market in general, you sell a deal, you lose in the first year. The second year, you break even. And then if you've got a 5-year deal, year 3 to 5, you make your money. And therefore, it's always a bit back-end loaded. You get your foot in the door, you win the business, you make no money because of massive setup costs and all the rest of it. But then you make it in the deal later. And I think that often the customer thinks they've got a great deal, and then they get a bit angsty or a bit angry later because they think, God, you're making loads of money, forgetting you made no money at the beginning. It would be much better if it was a bit more evenly spread, I think, for all parties, so that you felt better about working together. I think it creates issues later.
It's difficult for the sales organisation to work that out, though. That was something that I was part of when I was part of the FM industry, because you don't know what you're buying into. When you're selling in FM products into a big client, you don't know what the incumbent is doing. You don't know how efficient or inefficient they are. So it's very difficult to price it and say the aim of the FM company is to reduce the cost of it over time so that they can make more margin, exactly as you say, Ed. But they don't know what they're going into. They don't know that there might be a disaster waiting to happen in year 3 because XYZ hasn't been maintained or whatever. But one of the things that I've said a lot to, particularly in the public sector, where they seem to think that shorter contracts are better. Shorter contracts will lead to more competition for some reason, because everyone will be sharpening their pencils because they know they're going to lose the business in 2 years. I think the opposite is true, isn't it? It's like the longer term the deal in some areas, the better the deal you're going to get. And that creation of that partnership thing. I know, we started off in consulting and working in the Kawasaki production system and Japanese ways of thinking, and that whole longer term deal was the way to go.
The only thing I'd say is that really long term deals become a bit ill.
Yeah.
There's lots of contracts come across in FM where the supplier's been there for 10 years and they are royally ripping the customer off.
Oh, yeah. I think maybe 5 to 7 years, something like that. Maybe that might be the absolute maximum.
I think with robotics and so forth, I think it's a different proposition.
Yeah, I guess if it's a fast-moving, technology-driven thing, the solution is changing so quickly that a long-term deal might not make sense.
Yeah.
You've got to play it by whatever it is that the category that you're buying, isn't there? There's not a silver bullet for it should be 1 year, it should be 5 years, it should be 3 years. Mier, what's your view?
Today's moving world is all about automation, technology, robotics, and things are changing, and they're changing very, very quickly. Some customers asking not to buy, they ask to lease, because of the technology. So, sometimes we're looking at deals like that.
Just on that, Mier, you understanding the customer's market, that must be really important in selling to a buying organization. They want you to really understand what they do, I guess, and that gives you an advantage.
Yeah, well, basically what I'm after is more to understand their pains, what really motivate them to buy our technology and our solution. This is when I become a trusted advisor and not a salesman. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm a trusted advisor. What's the easiest product to sell, Mier, that you've ever sold? Or what in your view?
That's a good one. Anything that sells itself, like a gadget that makes tea and tells what's the winning lottery numbers. That's the easiest. Honestly, in our industry, the return on investment, when it's clear and the solution is genuinely solves the problem, it makes my job much more easier.
We've talked about before about the that bizarre virtual reality Apple headset thing where you think great technology, but nobody wants it.
Yes.
Having the product that fits the buyer's need is kind of important. And what's the opposite of that? And what's the hardest sell that you've ever had to make, Mier?
So, convincing someone that they need to invest 200,000 on a robot to move a pallet while they've got Bob to do it just fine. That's difficult. It's not easy because, they have a solution and now they need to invest so much money also to sell sand to someone in the Sahara. But who knows, with the proper marketing, it can work.
Way back when I started my life at ICL, we completely automated one of our warehouses with robots. And that was the question everybody was asking. Yeah, it's really nice. It's a dark warehouse. It's pitch black because the robots are picking stuff from fixed location. And we all thought, well, how can that be economic? Because those robots at that time cost so much money compared to a whole bunch of Bobs and Wendy's walking around the facility picking stuff. But some of it was just about we were a technology company. So it was the thing to do because it was a great marketing tool for the business as well, I think.
It's sad though, isn't it? The robots working in the dark with no lights on. They want lights. They want music too. They're sentient too.
Yeah, but before you know it, the sky will be on fire.
Exactly. I knew we'd go there.
Judgment Day.
Exactly.
Those robots will ignore your shiny suit and will crash into you. And
although no, they might think he's got a shiny suit on. Perhaps he's a robot too.
All the robots we sell have a back door. We can always switch them off. They have a safety switch. Don't worry.
And a machine gun in the front.
They're directed only to purchasing people.
So, Mier, I'm holding up a pen. Go on, sell me the pen.
Yeah, classic. It's not just a pen. It is the latest model and advanced ink technology that glides smoothly across the paper, making your signature to look 10 times more impressive. And in the procurement world, a striking signature can make all the difference. Plus, it pairs seamlessly with our robots. Think about this energy. Seriously talking, the idea to sell me this pen is actually to ask questions and very, very quickly to qualify or disqualify and to identify if there is a real pain or not. So as being a pessimist, as I mentioned, I tend to disqualify more than qualify. I shouldn't tell you all those secrets of mine.
Too late. So 2 final questions. Do you have any procurement friends?
No.
Well, what about me?
Oh, that's right. I have one.
Just to close out, Mier, the one bit of advice you'd give to procurement to get the best deal. What's the one thing that a procurement person should really think about to get the best deal?
From a sales perspective, you want me to give an advice to procurement how to make the best deal? Is that the question?
Yes.
Just be nice. Be nice. Don't ask for a discount. Be honest. Simple.
You heard it here first, listeners. Procurement folk, be nice and be honest with your sales representatives.
Hurrah! And on that bombshell, we'd like to thank Mr. Meir Ziskin for taking part today and giving us the full lowdown on how to be a salesperson. Thank you very much, Mier.
Thank you, guys. It was great.
Did you want to give a shout out to the company that you work for?
Right. So I work for a Spanish company, which called Kivnon, and we do automated guided vehicles, which basically we would supply the full turnkey solution. When you need to move things and you have a lot of forklifts or tow trucks and you want to get rid of them, and to be the head of competition, just reach out to me and I'll try to help you as much as I can.
Cool. Thank you very much. And of course, remember, listeners, that other automated guided vehicle suppliers are available.
Not as good as ours.
Great. Thanks very much, Mier, again. Thank you very much. And we will see you all again next time on Procurement Says No. And next time we'll hopefully have Skywalker and Ben Farrell on. Bye.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Cheers. That was good. Thanks very much, Mier.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was great. Good experience.
If you were an animal, which animal would you be?
An asp.
Or a cougar?
That's a tricky one. I guess I would like to be a camel. actually.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, why's that?
Self-sufficient. You can travel for long distances. There's a lot of jokes about camels, which is always funny, and you bring some use as well. So yeah, camel.
Would you be a dromedary or the two humps or the one humps?
Yeah, I'd rather to have two. One spare.
I always like to have two humps myself.